Commanders family, it's the battle of the Beltway. We catch up with head coach Dan Quinn to talk about our matchup against the Baltimore Ravens.
And we head into the film room to talk about complimentary football and how important it is for today's game.
And then to end the show, Logan and I talk about ticket to a win. We're talking key matchups against the Baltimore Ravens. All that and more
starts right now.
Welcoming in head coach Dan Quinn. First things first, congratulations on another win. But now we are headed to Baltimore. We call them our play cousins, the Ravens. How familiar are you with the Battle of the Beltway and the importance of this game?
You know, I'm not as familiar. You know, my first year here certainly had coming in, you know, familiarity with the NFC East and the natural rivals that go with that. So, obviously, with not being far away, I know it. So I'm looking forward to participating in my first Battle of the Beltway.
Yeah, and Jaden Daniels has talked a lot about how, you know, when he got drafted, he really wanted to play against Lamar. And, you know, all of a sudden you guys are 4-1. And the game kind of means something. Like, how do you kind of manage the young guy and kind of say, hey, man, this is just like any other game, even though you're playing against someone that you think is pretty cool, seemingly?
Yeah, for sure. That's somebody that he holds in high regard, like we all do.
Yeah, he's a good football player.
As coaches, as players, there's always matchups that, you know, that you go and you're ready and like it just, you know, you feel it. And so cool opportunity for him. I know he, you know, certainly holds Lamar in high regard. Fortunately, those two guys are not playing against one another. And so, you know, that part it will feel normal, but I look forward to seeing those guys spend some time after the game together.
Well, Jaden actually is facing the Ravens defense. And our offense has been extremely efficient. How can we continue that efficiency against the Baltimore Ravens, which is a very, very tough defense?
Yeah, and they have been, it just seems like, for a long time. I certainly respect the identity that they've created there on defense. It's, you know, seemingly been like this for a long time, starting back from, you know, personnel selections through Ozzie and Eric and coaching staffs. And, you know, it's just a remarkable run of an identity, and Zach's doing a great job. You know, he played in it, so he understands the standard that's been set there, and it takes a while to create an identity. And I've said that before here. We're trying to create our own, and so I have a lot of regard for how long that takes to do it over and over again.
Yeah, you mentioned Zach, and one of the things that sticks out to me is they're kind of bringing some of the stuff they did last year with the zone pressures and dropping guys out and interesting rush patterns, but they seem to be playing a little bit more man. Like, what is their identity at the moment, and how do you help Jaden kind of say, like, key in and perform at his best?
Yeah, one of the things I've always admired about them in the run game first,
yeah, they're
defensively. Yeah. And they play square, they play strong. The defensive line can lock guys out, gap and a half, and play square in the run game. So they can force some people into some situations that they can use some of those pressures that you're talking about, Logan, where coming off the edge or exotic looks to do that. And so we'll have to have balance, you know, to make sure the runs and the play passes are there, so you're not playing in long, extended downs on second down and third down.
Yeah, you say balance, right? But they're, you know, the number one rated team against the run, and so how do you kind of say we're the second rated offense against the run? How do we kind of keep that inertia going and kind of say, you know, good on good, we're better than you?
Yeah, I think it's part of the balance. In each game, there's a different way to attack, and that's part of a good team, like knowing that this progress is happening because of the process we've gone through.
Sure.
The run game, the play passes. It's not the same runs or play passes that go into every game. Then as you get in game, how is somebody playing you? And the best of the best can adapt and change and say, hey, let's do more of this, let's do less of that. And those are the things that I've seen our team grow over the last few weeks. You want to play a certain way, this is how we're going to go get down.
And a huge part of this effective offense is how the offensive line is playing. I think Cornell Lucas was the highest rated, PFF graded commander on the team. How do we keep that momentum rolling Sunday?
Yeah, it's a huge challenge, but one that the guys are definitely up for. We think of running the ball not just as the offensive line. We actually think of it as all 11 guys. It's the quarterback carrying out the play fake. It's the tight ends. It's the receivers, you know, blocking way downfield. One of my favorite plays from the game actually happened to be on a play that we fumbled. And Austin Eckler had a really long run down the field. One of the Cleveland players made a good play to get the ball out, but the three receivers decided to go. They didn't know that it was going to come out. They were just going to go finish for Austin, and it was Alameda and Terry and Luke, and their ability to go down the field and fight for their guy, that's an identity. And so running the ball, certainly the offensive line is a big part of that, but so are the receivers, the tight ends, the backs, the quarterbacks. And if we can make people defend the whole field in every way and continue to attack, we'll be more effective doing that. But that play summarized what I was looking for from finishing.
Was that an identity that you had to teach? Because you talked a lot about these guys that you're bringing in and the caliber of guys you're bringing in and the type of work ethic they have. So did you have to like push that in, or is that just something they naturally did?
Well, I think you have to push it. And we had said early on, we're not going to be for everybody. And it's going to be hard. And that straining to go finish down the field is not easy because you have to make a choice to go do that. And the more you just consistently do it over and over again, then it really isn't a choice anymore. It's just how you do business. And the more I've seen from the guys do that of trying to get down the field to get a block, I saw another one on Austin Eckler all the way down the field on a long Jaden run, turning, getting a block. And so everything counts. And just fighting for your guys, not having an agenda about which stat or who's there, just going to fight for it. That's what I've been impressed by with the guys.
I love that you're talking like team running the football, because it does take all 11. And with this kind of the physicality of the Baltimore Ravens up front, which you've already talked about, some of that perimeter stuff becomes even more critical. How do you kind of make sure those guys are ready for those matchups every single week, whether it's on the offensive line or whether it's the perimeter, when they got to kind of have a physical day at the office versus the Baltimore Ravens?
Yeah, and I think you always want to try to simulate things as close as you can, in the game. So times like today or in practice this week where you go good on good.
Right.
You go the best on the best and put it into a competition, whether it's in the low red zone, a third down competition, and it helps you keep your skills sharp, Logan. And it may not be the Ravens defense exactly, but for you, a reach block against a defensive end, whether he lives in Baltimore or Los Angeles or Chicago or here in Washington, like it's all the same technique. And you got to go absolutely strain and battle for it. And that's how the guys can work our skills in season so we stay sharp for the game.
And Logan mentioned a few of these names on this defense, some high-powered guys. We have Kyle Hamilton. We have Marlon Humphreys. How does Cliff Kingsbury's offense and how versatile it is keep defenses like this honest?
Yeah, and I think it really starts also in the middle with the linebacker group, with Raekwon and the ability to blitz and cover. Sure. And so they've got a really unique package, Brian, where they can play at the line of scrimmage, they can drop out, they can bring people. And so they've got a good disguise system. They've got length and speed. So we'll need to attack leverage and be able to work the things that we do well. And we won't have an entirely new game plan, but there's certainly some things that you and Logan and others haven't seen as well that have been, cooking up, but, weren't game ready yet. But that's kind of the part of the fun of going into a game plan. Not everybody plays exactly the same. And so you have to be able to adjust, for a team that has unique things.
That's another thing we've seen. You talked about kind of the physicality of the receivers and the identity, and you were talking about matchups and things like that. But it does seem like the guys have really bought in, to the execution and philosophy that Cliff's bringing, and that's got to make you kind of sleep a little bit better at night because you know that whatever I put in, these guys are going to pour it all out to get it done.
Yeah, and that's their connection to one another. Yeah. And I think one of the best parts is they've realized they're an extension of and connected to the other person. So the deep play, the Terry might have been Sam Cosmi or Wiley, just absolutely straining, to go. A couple weeks ago, there was a zero blitz that Jaden had to hold on to the ball, just an extra count to throw a deep ball to Terry against Cincinnati, knowing he was going to get hit. And that's not easy to do, to stay in there and stare right down the barrel and wait it out to go get a hit. But that same effort and execution, knowing that they were all responsible for that touchdown. Knowing that they're all digging in for it together. And so that's why you see them get excited when, somebody scores or a big play, because I wish you guys could be on the sideline to hear the energy and sometimes just running onto the field after, Jeremy Reeves make a big hit on special teams. It's not just a jog onto the field for the defense on a kickoff. They are sprinting to go find him. And those are the plays that provide a lot of energy generating football. And we need more.
And Coach, you used that word energy, so I think that's a perfect transition to our defense because, man, our defense has a ton of energy, and they're going to need it because this Ravens offense is number one in rushing in the NFL, and their quarterback, Lamar Jackson, has a lot to do with that. How challenging is it to scheme against a quarterback that's so capable with his legs?
Yeah, I think anytime you have the ability where teams have a strong running game and passing game, it provides unique challenges for people. If you are all just one area, that's all you could do was, really strong run game, but you didn't have a solid passing game, or vice versa, that makes you one-dimensional. And I think most teams can handle that. So for them, having the ability to get in and out of plays, run plays, option plays, screen game, downfield throws, scrambling, there's a whole, trunk of plays and systems that they have. And Lamar is the one that makes it go. And so we'll be ready, but you do have special circumstances for a player that can extend plays from the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, and like you're talking about running the football, they're number one rushing the football. Lamar's a big part of that, obviously. But I feel like they can just, I know what you're talking about, the diversity of their offense, whether it's throwing, the screens, but they have diversity in the rushing attack too. They've got all this GT, the zone read. They put Picard back there, and he's a 400-pound fullback smashing skulls. They get in 22. How do you kind of prep it just seems like a lot to prep in a week for a team.
Well, I think the good part, Logan, and this would be good for the fans to also say, why do you do installs in training camp?
Because you get all of it.
You get all of it.
Yeah, there we go.
You got to be ready if a team wants to get down and play big, groups of people. You have packages for that. If teams want to play a more wide open, you have packages for that. So some days in training camp, it's not every day is the same. How are we going to feature when we're going to play against a team like Baltimore compared to a team that plays differently? And so now you have some things that you can go back to say, this is some things that we play against this type of package, against this type of quarterback. And so that's why training camp's really valuable, because you get to prepare not just for the opening game, you're preparing for the whole season. And all the things that need to go in to get you right for that, it's a really important process.
And Coach, before we wrap, I think the most important thing about the Battle of the Beltway is that 12th man, is the ability for fans to be able to travel, drive out here, and come to the game. Give a message to the fans, because they're listening, they're watching. Give a message to the fans on why we need to pull up to Baltimore and show out there.
Well, I would say, first off, I felt it at Arizona.
Oh, yeah.
I felt it, and I felt it right before the opening kick. You turn back behind the bench and you saw it. So to see some burgundy and gold this Sunday in Baltimore, it'll be awesome, man. And so for the ones that will be there, we are going to absolutely go for it in the very biggest way, and we look forward to seeing them there.
And good luck today, Coach.
All right, thank you.
Now it's time for your Prime Player, brought to you by DC Prime, Loudoun's premier steakhouse. For dinner reservations or private dining, call 703-840-2099. Now this week's Prime Player is linebacker Frankie Louvu. In his game against the Cleveland Browns, Louvu put up a single-game career high of 2.5 sacks, 7 combined tackles, 2 tackles for losses, and a fumble recovery, earning himself the Week 6 game ball from Coach Quinn. Louvu was in his 7th year in the NFL and entered the league as an undrafted free agent, much like my guy, Logan Paulson. Frankie Louvu is a disruptor on the field and has contributed to the energy and physicality as Washington's defense continues to improve in its first season under head coach Dan Quinn and defensive coordinator Joe Witt Jr. Coming up, Logan and Coach head into the film room to talk about how Washington can win the Battle of the Beltway. And afterwards, we'll share our must-watch matchups for a victory over the Ravens. The Game Plan is presented by Maryland Lottery. Please play responsibly.
Come on and hit. Tack, running and hitting. Boom! Out of the way! Yeah! Keep hunting. Keep hunting, bro. Appreciate you. I appreciate you.
Jaden loads one up towards the Army run. He's got him! Touchdown!
One.
Daniels to Brown on a bomb!
That's the wolf. Yeah. That's the wolf. You're wolf, right? Yeah. You're wolf, man. Yeah.
No.
Welcome back into the Game Plan. It's time to go inside the film room, brought to you by the Maryland Lottery. Please play responsibly.
All right, Coach, got the Baltimore Ravens this week, and I think something that's going to be essential for this game is complementary football. And it's great to see it because you did it in the Cleveland game, and you just did an excellent job. So first things first, backed up here. This is right after an interception, right? So it's great that the defense can come out here and support the offense with a wonderful pressure on Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, I think anytime you get a chance to keep someone backed up after the punt, Logan, you're close. Your field position can shift and change. And so on this particular play, they had a 7-man protection, snapped it quick, and I thought defensive line did a nice job of Johnny working around the turn to get a twist, and inside get a hit on the QB, just like you want. We call it strike zone, like in baseball, from the shoulders down to the knees or above the knees. And when you can get there with 4, it allows you to be a little more selective on the back end and use coverage and work it into different ways. So for a good player like Amari, where now you have some extra eyes, over the top of him with Quan.
Absolutely, and I think it's great to see this too, Coach. Guys matching stuff, right? And I think the vision in the back end, is it perfect all the time? No, but when the rush is there, it kind of covers some of that up. And I just love kind of the attention to detail that seems to be coming along with this group's been awesome.
Yeah, I felt their speed and energy and toughness all game.
Yeah.
And, like we just need more. And they're trending in the right way for sure.
Always want more. But then that leads to this, right? They get a short punt in the backed up situation. Love this call by Cliff. We're going to run a little keeper, so run action here, and then the quarterback's going to boot out away. And it's not exactly perfect, but I think that's one of the things that makes 5 so special, is able to make the call right. Basically.
That's right. And you've seen plays like this of gap schemes where we have runs on, and now to have a fake sweep to go into Alameda, and now getting out on the edge and remaining a passer outside creates opportunities down the field. And I love how Jaden gets squared back to the line of scrimmage and absolutely rips one here to Terry.
Rips that throw. That was such a tight window throw. There's guys in the way, but the composure, there's a guy breathing down his neck right here. It's awesome. And, this play happens because the defense does a great job. He elevates. Really great to see. A couple plays later, we're scoring touchdowns down here in the red zone, and I think, like you talked about, the varied offensive scheme, the run scheme. Love a good wham here. Get the tight end doing some work for you. Yeah, get the tight end doing some work for you here. And it's just a physical down. We got a guy, free runner in the hole, but it's all right because B-Rob is an excellent physical ball carrier. And then we got a guy out here blocking for what seems like 5 seconds. So,
well, stepping through a tackle like that on a good safety is not easy, but as it gets closer to the goal line, I swear Brian gets stronger, and he can feel it, he can sense it, and a good one to get in here. What I loved about this sequence, for complementary football, we weren't having to wait to see it.
Yeah.
There was an interception, it stayed backed up, there was a punt, it was a nice return by OZ, and now getting a chance to go score in sequence, that's complementary football.
There's no layover, right? It's on the same drive. It's fantastic. And again, it wasn't just one time either. Here we go, 3rd down, 2-minute situation, trying to get them off the field. And, we get a lot of things that I like to see. Defenses communicating. We're going to get an awesome blitz here by Bobby and Frankie here, just right up the middle of the defense. But, again, the evolution of the defense and the physicality here, again, to get the offense back that football with time on the clock.
Yeah, that's right. And at the end of the half, if you got your chances to go get it, now you got some ops. They certainly motioned across to get to man-to-man and get some identification. But love the physicality of the linebackers on this particular blitz. And going in, showing blitz, and sometimes playing out and not. But on this particular one, really aggressive by Frankie and Bobby inside, which allowed the whole play to come on.
And I don't know, man, how many linebackers that I've ever played with or seen that it's just every time they're on a running back, it's a mismatch. He just plays with such passion, man. I feel like we're talking about him every week, but it's really, really cool.
Logan, you'd love to play with this guy. The energy he brings on and off the field is contagious. Yeah. And he's a fantastic teammate. He absolutely empties it out for his teammates, and another example of that right there.
Yeah, so obviously punt, and everyone's like, oh man, what are we going to do? Love how when you guys got into your 2-minute, really simplified the defense. And this guy, you talk about B-Rob getting stronger, this guy I feel like gets better. When the situation gets heightened, he gets better. Just a great call here. We got chip help on the edges with our running back and Luke there. And this is a good pass rushing team. This is one of the best pass rushers in the NFL.
That's right.
Love the protection, love the composure, love the call, and it happens because the defense was there for you.
Yeah, and I think what we're seeing from Jaden is also playing the position well.
Yeah.
A lot of guys may look at the stats or where it is, but there was a lot that went into this play of seeing an identification of where it could go, and then knowing when and when not to take your shot. In this example, all right, where a receiver could get on top of somebody and he could throw it in a spot that the middle field safety could not get to. Logan, that's playing the position well.
And you talk about playing the position well, and I just like his eye discipline on some of these deep shots is just fantastic. Like he's right down the middle of the field as he's dropping out. It holds the post safety right down the middle, right where you want him. Late feet, late eyes, and then this ball couldn't be thrown in a more perfect spot.
Yeah, he threw an absolute dime, and it was a great play by Diami. Created a lot of energy for the team right before the half. And that's the attacking style that we want to be.
And I can't wait to watch you guys do this complimentary football and keep growing offensively and defensively today against the Baltimore Ravens.
Thanks, man.
Always great to hear what Coach and Logan have to say in the film room. It's time to highlight the Commanders' Coach of the Week from Week 5. Coach Thomas Green of Eleanor Roosevelt High School has been named the Washington Commanders' Week 5 Coach of the Week. A 16-year veteran in Prince George County's athletics, Coach Green continues to inspire and support his student athletes. recently leading the Raiders to a 28-18 victory over the Oxon Hill Clippers. Commanders family, you can gear up for game day with our Commanders coverage. At noon, B. Mitch Santana and I share in-depth analysis on the Commanders and a live look into their warm-ups. And immediately after the game, we'll be back live to share our reactions to the game as well as coach and player press conferences. You won't want to miss all of the great analysis and live looks on Facebook, X, and the Commanders YouTube page. And stick around, Commanders family, because Logan and I will be right back to give you our must-watch matchups up in Baltimore today. That's all on the game plan. Welcome back into the game plan. Before we talk about this week's upcoming competition, don't forget to buy your tickets to see head coach Dan Quinn and your Washington Commanders in their next home game against the Carolina Panthers on Sunday, October 20th. You can find your tickets at commanders.com. Now it's time for a competitive edge brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official partner of the Washington Commanders. Now here's a look at the upcoming competition for the Commanders. The Ravens are coming off of an overtime win against the Bengals and have now won 3 straight games following an 0-2 start. Baltimore is in its 17th season under head coach John Harbaugh, who is the franchise leader in coaching wins. The Ravens led the league in total offense, averaging over 440 total yards per game. This is the first regular season meeting between Washington and Baltimore since 2020. Commanders family, I have great news for you. We have Commanders content going out every day this week. We have podcasts, shows, press conferences, and so much more. Be sure to subscribe to the Commanders YouTube page and turn on that bell so you get notified every time we post. Now, it's time for your ticket to a win, presented by SeatGeek, your ticket to great Commanders seats. Logan, our ticket to a win are these must-see matchups. You ready to get into it?
Yeah, absolutely, man.
The first one, Jaden Daniels versus Zach Orr in this defense.
Yeah, I think this is going to be really pivotal, obviously. This guy does a lot. He's a new defensive coordinator. They've kind of changed their defensive identity in Baltimore. They're first in stopping the run, 31st in stopping the pass. I think that's somewhat misleading because they do a lot of really interesting zone pressures. It's going to really test this guy a lot in terms of what he's seen. But the cool thing about Jaden Daniels is every single week seems to put something new in the CPU and get a little bit better. So I can't wait to watch this chess match between these two guys.
We're all excited. The last matchup we have, surprise, surprise, Joe Witt Jr. against Lamar Jackson in this offense.
This man's got to earn his paycheck today, I'll tell you that, right? Because this is maybe the best player in football. He's the best player in football right now. The way he runs the football, the way he throws the football, he presents so many different problems for a defensive coordinator, right? So how do you run the football? How do we stop running the football with him, with his legs? He's such a big part of their first and second down rush package. And then if you do stop it, you showed last week against Cincinnati, he can make a ton of plays down the field. So I don't know what you're going to do. He's probably having some sleepless nights, but this is the matchup to watch, and I can't wait to see what he comes up with because Cincinnati had a great plan for 3 quarters and all fell apart in the 4th. So he's got to play 4 quarters, coach 4 quarters of football. Can't wait to check it out.
And Commanders fan, these are your tickets to a win. We will see you guys today at the field in Baltimore for the Battle of the Beltway. Until next time, Brian Colbert Jr. here with Logan Paulson. This is The Game Plan.